I'm sorry. She's gone.
What's that?
She expired.
Are you sure?
Tell the world my story.
Part 1. The Misdirection. The Nothing Myth.
I'm looking at Ray's Pizza. You know where that is? Is it famous Ray's? No, it's original Ray's.
The phrase, a show about nothing, might be the most successful disguise in television history. What sounded casual, even lazy, was actually the perfect shield for a project that was anything but empty. It told the audience that what they were watching didn't matter, that it was safe to laugh without thinking too hard. But right under that surface, Seinfeld was quietly examining the cracks in modern life. The boredom, the vanity, the background hum of loneliness that ran through every punchline. Nothing wasn't the absence of meaning, it was the costume that hid it. When the show's creators first leaned into that line during interviews, it was clearly ironic. They were describing a storyless show in a story-driven medium, a series built from the scraps of everyday behavior. It played like a joke about sitcoms themselves. What viewers didn't catch right away was that the so-called nothing was actually everything they already knew about being human. Awkward social code, endless small talk, the anxiety of being slightly wrong all the time. The marketing turned that deep observation into a tiny soundbite, a shorthand that made the show approachable but easy to underestimate. And that irony worked. Episode after episode followed intricate patterns, plots folding into one another, coincidences engineered so tightly they felt accidental. You could trace the structure like clockwork. Small grievances, waiting for a table, losing a phone number, misreading a look, looped back with surgical precision. There was no moral lesson at the end because morality wasn't the point. The design itself was. Seinfeld called it nothing, but every edit, every missed connection was labor, intention, and control. So if the show wasn't truly about nothing, then what was hiding inside all that something you thought you were just laughing at?
You mean...
Yes. I'm Jay Peters.
Part 2. The Evidence.
These men have to yell at me like that.
Amber. Elaine, thanks for coming to pick me up. I can explain everything. All right.
If Seinfeld was never about nothing, then it quietly became about everything that fills the space between who we are and who we pretend to be. Every tiny story about a lost key, a bad date, a soup stand, captured the paralysis of people trying to act decent while failing at it in new and inventive ways. The show magnified what happens when normal irritation meets self-interest. You could see it in arguments over lines and silent petty revenge, in those small triumphs that ended up hollow. Each subplot was a fragment of social breakdown, played for laughs but shaped like a moral test no one could pass. The writers built those moments straight from life. Their own mishaps and irritations became raw material, then were pushed until they exposed something uncomfortable. A minor slight spiraled into obsession. A quick excuse revealed cowardice, and every awkward social exchange turned into a case study in selfish logic. The detail was always specific enough to feel real, because it usually was, and that made the characters' failures sting. The point wasn't moral instruction, it was the uneasy truth that we recognize ourselves in petty behavior far quicker than noble choices. That's where the no hugging, no learning mantra mattered most. It refused redemption as a storytelling crutch. By stripping out the usual sitcom comforts, the show could linger in pure observation, neither praising nor condemning. No one grew, and that still felt truer than most comedies built on growth. What emerged was a kind of philosophical neutrality, a willingness to study human behavior without fixing it. So when you look at that deli line or apartment hallway now, it plays less like a joke and more like a stage. The nothing was overflowing, with motive, vanity, and consequence. But what kind of philosophy thrives inside all that absurd routine? Quick pause before we dive into the next hidden meaning. If you're enjoying this breakdown, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now. We've got even deeper Seinfeld theories. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's next.
Yeah, you must have been Clara Barton.
Clara Barton? What did she do?
Section A, the absurdity of existence.
I don't know how you can eat that spicy chicken.
George likes spicy chicken.
What's that?
I like spicy chicken.
No. You said George likes spicy chicken.
Every move in Seinfeld's world comes with a cosmic punchline. You chase a parking spot for 20 minutes, lose it to someone else, and somehow end up yelling in the same garage you started in. That's the cycle the show lives by. A perfect loop of action and consequence that cancels itself out. The cause always returns to the effect, giving the illusion of progress while nothing changes. This law of absurd causality turns daily life into a feedback loop, where each decision only deepens the trap. The humor doesn't come from victory. It comes from watching people dig themselves deeper with perfect logic. George's schemes for status, Elaine's minor triumphs over coworkers, even Jerry's endless dating rotation, all collapse in a rhythm that feels inevitable. That rhythm, built on frustration and anti-climax, is Seinfeld's version of the absurd. You recognize the pattern because you've lived it. You think you're solving something small, but the universe is indifferent, and you end up right where you started. Just louder, and maybe slightly worse off. Larry David's drive for realism keeps that absurdity sharp. These plots aren't metaphors or surreal detours. They're slices of ordinary experience studied too closely. A missing car isn't a symbol of loss. It's simply a missing car that ruins your entire day. By refusing sentimentality or tidy payoffs, the show mirrors how life really works when nobody's scripting the moral. Its chaos feels choreographed only because that chaos always finds you again tomorrow. Seinfeld's absurdity holds up a mirror you can't escape. The laughter is relief and recognition at once. You laugh because you see the irrational choreography of your own routines. So, if absurdity is the only truth left, why do these characters keep searching for meaning inside it?
What are you going to do in the toilet? I'd like to have shoehorn hands.
Section B, the search for meaning. Every Seinfeld episode opens on something small, a missing button, an annoying neighbor, a single inconvenience, and somehow ends with everyone worse off. The comedy hides in that collapse. What begins as a minor irritation turns into a moral test, one that no one ever passes. The characters think they're chasing comfort or justice, but every scheme leads right back to frustration. That's not narrative laziness, it's the structure of their world. The city keeps offering choices, but each one cancels the last. They're always searching for something that sounds like meaning. A better job, a new date, a cleaner apartment. Yet every attempt dissolves into punchlines and awkward exits. The moment a plan seems to make sense, it folds in on itself. You can feel the quiet despair underneath the jokes, a sense that the next thing will finally fix them, even as every next thing looks just like the last. The city amplifies it. Surrounded by strangers and options, they find connection only through transaction. Every favor, every conversation bends towards self-interest. It's a marketplace of attention disguised as friendship. What makes this different from the usual sitcom loop is that Seinfeld refuses the payoff. No hug, no revelation, no lesson waiting under the laugh track. Traditional comedy grants renewal through love or realization. This one withholds both. That refusal becomes its rebellion. It's a revolt against television's moral instinct to tidy everything up. By letting its characters stall, the show captures how real life often runs out of moral fuel, and that's the trick. The failure becomes the meaning. Their endless circling, their absurd persistence, is its own proof of existence. They keep moving, not because they've found purpose, but because stopping would mean admitting there isn't one. Which begs the question, how does authenticity survive when everything's performed for advantage?
I can't live without you. I'll do anything.
Section C, authenticity and bad faith. When sincerity can't survive, performance becomes the only reliable truth. That's the rule of Seinfeld's universe. If honesty exposes you, better to act your way through life. Every character turns this into routine.
Tell me what I want to know what I did.
You didn't do anything. It's not you, it's me.
George constructs lies so elaborate, they start to feel like identity. His Art Vandelay persona is less a joke than a safety net. Elaine explains away small cruelties with reasoned charm, convincing herself they don't count. Jerry meets emotion like a scientist observing bacteria. He studies, categorizes, and moves on. Everyone's pretending, and the show treats that pretense as natural law. In philosophy, Jean-Paul Sartre called this bad faith, the act of deceiving yourself about your own freedom and responsibility. Seinfeld gives that concept a punchline. By inventing excuses, these characters dodge the weight of choice. George even defends his lies by claiming, "It's not a lie if you believe it," a perfect manual for self-deception. The performance keeps them functioning. Without it, they'd have to face that their failures aren't accidents. They're deliberate. The show turns this evasion into a comic engine. Survival through denial. Joke after joke spun from people too self-aware to stop pretending. And when that rare flash of self-knowledge hits, it doesn't redeem them. It ruins them. Each attempt at reflection spirals into another act of posturing. The more they glimpse their own vanity, the more desperate the cover-up becomes. In Seinfeld's world, self-awareness isn't progress, it's punishment. There's no reward for honesty when your whole life depends on maintaining the bit. That's the quiet tragedy under the laugh track. Authenticity is taboo. True sincerity would collapse the comedy. So bad faith isn't just a flaw, it's the operating system. Which makes you wonder, what kind of culture builds a world where pretending is the only way to exist?
You'll never guess who I ran into. Howard Metro. Yeah.
Part 3. The Punchline.
No, you made a mistake, Kramer.
Beneath all the laughter sat a dark thesis. Modern life is only funny because it can't be fixed. In Seinfeld's universe, people keep performing versions of themselves, trapped in a loop of performance and denial. Every episode's intersecting plots build a miniature ecosystem where behavior repeats until it becomes reflex. It's not chance that their actions mirror one another, it's architecture. That structure hints at something larger, almost cosmic. A social machine that runs without direction, powered entirely by ego and etiquette. The performance keeps society moving even as it strips away sincerity. Nowhere is that trap clearer than in the finale. After nearly a decade of avoiding accountability, the four friends face literal judgment. The courtroom gathers every person they've ever wronged, an audience within the show itself. This isn't redemption, it's bureaucracy dressed as morality. They're punished but not reformed, confined but unchanged. The sequence plays like a closing argument for the series' philosophy. Their trial isn't about law, it's about the futility of expecting growth from people who've built their survival on bad faith. The laughter you hear is uneasy because the verdict feels inevitable. Seinfeld's great trick was convincing us we were laughing at trivial people when we were actually laughing at ourselves. Every petty complaint, every bit of selfish logic mirrored our own daily absurdities. The show disguised philosophy as behavior, turning human vanity into entertainment. Its nothingness was a mirror, not a void. Rewatch it, not for nostalgia, but for its quiet honesty about how we live, endlessly negotiating between meaning and habit. The laughter still lands because it's true. In a universe built on nothing, Seinfeld proved that comedy might be the most honest form of meaning we have left.